Good afternoon, fellow men. On me, because ordinarily I'm the one who has the family secrets, and they didn't want them to be leaked out, so they tied me and said that I only come to read eulogy, which I ordinarily don't do because I don't read eulogies. Now, our mother had a favorite verse for each and every one of us. For believers, Psalms 133 verse 1. That was our favorite verse for each and every one of us. When brothers live together in unity, it's like a precious oil poured on the beard, on the head, running down, on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down upon the collars of his robe. That was our clarion call. And as everybody has said, coming from a polygamous home, our father's main worry was that we were united as children. And he kept on praying. He had only three prayers. Our father had 3 prayers. Prayer number 1 was that he used to tell our mom that Nyakorwa, that's how he used to call her. The way I'm seeing these children of man playing and are in unity, one day one of them will get a wife who will come and plant the seeds of his unity amongst them. And that really used to pain me. But I think you've seen that his prayer was answered. These ladies have no seeds of disunity amongst us. His number 2 prayer was alcohol. Our father never used to drink an alcohol. Though a polygamous, he never used to drink alcohol. The other commandment of God which he used to break was to eat unclean fish. So for the Adventists, you know, you're not supposed to eat lungfish, mudfish, those ones he used to eat. So he used to say that since he's not partaking to alcohol, and since we don't see how bad those who drink alcohol behave, he thought that will be switched to drink alcohol. But I think that prayer also was answered, save for one whom we are praying for, to stop drinking alcohol. So that prayer was answered. The other prayer of our father was that he lost one of his dear child. And the man was so depressed, Ray Omolo will tell you that the chiefs, they give guns. So my father had been given a gun. So he took his gun and went into the forest, attempting to commit suicide because his loved daughter had died. So when he was dissuaded, he made one prayer: God, may I not see any of my child die before me. And I think that prayer was also answered. So none of his children died until after him. So almost all the deaths in our home came after our father. So those are our father's prayers. My mother has very many prayers. One of our mother's prayers, which I have to say, was she wanted us to start families. But most of us were so stubborn. I think we had set standards so high about the kind of women we wanted to marry, so that it became so impossible for us to get those standards. And she would constantly ask those who are close to us in Kijaluo, have you found an helpmate? Every time that was our question, have they found their helpmate? But eventually, of course, she prayed some of us into marriage, and I think, as Lucia said, she prayed most of us into marriage, because I think we had come to a stage where we were saying this marriage also is not a very important thing. But she prayed each and every one of us into marriage. So since my brothers had walked me down, I'll read the eulogy. But as my brother said, since I'm the spiritual child of Berlin, they have handed to me over a Bible and a songbook. So each and every child of Berlin gathered here, now I am the spiritual leader. And for those who are not attending church, from tomorrow, everybody must go to church. So I'll do that which they gave me to do. But before I do that, So I do that which they gave me to do, which I ordinarily don't do. And this speech was not written by us. It was edited by Bev. Bev is the boy's first child. So she was so dear to everybody. She's called Abuao. She's named after our grandmother. She is the first child born to the boys. Of course, excluding those ones we don't know. So if they are there, we still recognize them. So this is what they wrote about our mom. Dear friends and family, loved ones, today as we gather here to honor the memory of Mama Medina K. Wakiaga, Obelo as she was fondly called, we reflect on a life of dedicated service to God and community. She came from a Christian home. Her father, Kiliopa, in Kijaluo, Kiliopas in English. For a long time I didn't know why my grandfather was called Kiliopa until I became a good Christian. Then I discovered that is Kiliopas, one of those two Emmaus disciples. So she was born to Kiliopa Orua and late Priscilla Uma of Kamasengre, Luanda village, on the 4th of August 1940. For closure purposes, we have two conflicting dates there, whether it's 3rd or 4th, but we'll clarify that. But for now, let's go with 4th. So she went to school at they have misspelled it. It is Nyawange Primary School, not what is written in this. The correct name is Nyawange Primary School. Now, Nyawange Primary School is a very special school. Their mom, Priscilla Uma, converted to Christianity, knew how to read and write. So she decided to teach boys and girls how to read and write. So in the process of teaching them how to read and write, for those who don't know, this is Rusinga Island. This is where Tomboya comes from. But do I say? So Tomboya would come to a school behind our house. And Tomboya would tell her, Priscilla, next time I'll build for you a school. That is how Nyawange Primary School, which is now currently Kamasegre Mix, came into being. So, and later went to Kaswanga Intermediate. Now Kaswanga Intermediate, for those who don't know the geography of Rusinga, is where currently Tomboya is. That was the Kaswanga Intermediate. Many of the locals from the southern Nyanza, more so people from Rususis village, the Karachonyo guys, all went to Kaswanga Intermediate. The educational structure was now like CBC. So you used to do class 1, 4, then 5, you now go to intermediate primary school. Now Kaswanga was the only intermediate primary school within this area. So what that says is that my mother passed class 4 and went to class 5 at Kaswanga Intermediate Primary School. Now, Obelo, as fans would call her, was a skilled sportswoman. Of course, for those who met her, she had that height, the American height of basketballers. Played netball and serves as the captain of the Rusinga North netball team, which in that year when she was a captain, went up to provincial level. Now, following high education at Kamasegre Primary School, she later on went to Nairobi to train in dressmaking at St. Peter's Vocational Training School. Sister Closure, I'll tell you how she went to St. Peter's. Our second last born, Dorcas Awiti, was born prematurely at 7 months. And therefore she had to be put, for ladies, you know, when you get a child prematurely, she had to go through those processes of rehabilitation. So of course, since the health facilities here were not prime, she went for proper rehabilitation in Nairobi, and she was staying with her brother, Professor Wakiaga, who is here. So Professor Wakiaga decided that his sister, when she's here with me, must learn some skill. But of course, being a good communicator, he asked the wife's husband whether he can allow the wife to go and study dressmaking. And the husband, who was a chief, felt that that was demeaning. How can you make a chief's wife to do dressmaking? And my uncle asked him that, Wakiaga, do you know the future? And of course, being a wise man, he reflected on it and agreed. So my mother stayed in with his brother for 1 year, studying how to do dressmaking at St. Peter's vocational training. Those who know Nairobi well, you know where St. Peter's is, down there as you go towards, it's called bus station. So that training later on is what became a profession. I'll come to that first. But let me read it the way they put it here. Yes. So she is a sister to Miriam Machara. Miriam Machara is married in Taksingri, late. That is their firstborn. Professor Wakiaga, who is here, I won't say much about him. But he was Professor Wakiaga was the director of youth services and is the brainchild of all these Tibets you guys are talking about. I've never seen anybody organizing for the Tibet things. This guy here is the one who started the Tibet schools. And when his father-in-law died, his brother-in-law died, he brought one in Rusinga here and named it after his brother-in-law. So if you walk around Rusinga, you'll find some DG Polytechnic, which we want this year we have to do something about, called Wakiaga Youth Polytechnic. Started by this gentleman here in honor of his brother-in-law. But he did something which in the current political system would have been called nepotism. So since his sister had a certificate in dressmaking, and a youth polytechnic is being established in the village under his watch, one of the conditions was that his sister must be employed. And she was indeed employed. And indeed she worked as an instructor. And the students are here as we speak. So that is her brother. The late Katete Orua, those who study political science at the University of Nairobi, remember Katete. Theodora Yot, a sister, and Mrs. Marino Jordan, who is seated here. Another special lady in our home, who made some of us go to Nairobi for the first time. A story for another day. So of course, our sister Miriam was married to Samuel Wachara. Our sister Theodora was married to Professor Kelayot, and Misa was married to Eunice Akomo, and Katete was married to Margaret Orua, and Marin was married to Vitalis Ojode, one of those who are doses of IDK. So they have said here that Berdina married ex-chief Senator Wakiaga and joined his household as Nyachira, the third wife. And I think our brothers have explained. I said it in church and I'll repeat it, that our father married his first wife, Peligona. And Peligona got for him 3 girls. Damaris, who stood here and spoke, Perez, and Judith Adoyo. In the African system, when you get girls, you blame the woman and says the woman who does not know how to give birth to girls. But of course, the science now tells us that the man is the culprit because he's the one who has the 2 chromosomes. So So you are the one who is the culprit. But he thought, as Africans think, that his first wife was not giving him sons. So he went for the second wife. And as God would have it, the second wife also gave him 8 girls. 8 girls. With only one boy, Moses. So Moses is called Ogongo. So Moses is called Ogongo, the only son amongst girls. So now when my mother came in, she came with the formula of giving birth to boys. So in her first arrival, she gave birth to Joel, the one my sister was talking about, how they overloved him. So Joel was born, and I think God was testing him, because after Joel, Judy was born. So Joel, Judy, and then being an African he started looking for a 4th wife, because he thought perhaps the formula is not now working. So he wanted to be assisted. So he got the 4th wife. But after Judy, it was just boy, 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 boy. She also told us that our father felt that the town life would corrupt us. So he didn't want us to stay in town, because he looked at us, some of us were very naughty. If we were living in town, we would have entered into those bad things. So he decided to confine us into the village, while him and his sweetheart were staying in town. And you can imagine, as a child, you can be so depressed. People are drinking tea and bread and butter, and you here, you are struggling in the village eating doma and those allied foods. So that is how we grew up under the care of our mother, dad. So of course, our 8 children have been mentioned there. You see them here. I don't need to read their names. So of course, just like what I've said, she was a co-wife of Filgono Chamda. Filgona was the first wife of Wakiaga, who gave birth to those first 3 girls. Then Lady Rocheno came and gave birth to 8 girls plus 1 boy. Then lastly, Agnes Anyango came, who gave birth to Didan and a girl and a girl and 2 boys in that sequence. So of course, they have mentioned us here. I don't need to bore you. You've seen our ugly face around. So you know that there's Sammy, the one everybody knows. Then there's Moses, the one who is struggling to be known. And then myself, the one which my place of work has made me to be known. And then followed by David, who is not known but should be known. Then there's Eric. Then there's Dedan, who is known. There's Mzee, and there's Miki in that order. The girls are many. If I mention them in any other order, you forgive me. There's Damaris, who spoke here. There's Perez. Perez, amongst the girls, is the only one who went to school properly. The rest of them were so happy being chief's girls, and they didn't like going to school, apart from Perez, who decided to study. Again, after studying, she married a stubborn man who said, my wife cannot work. So Perez did not work well, but she's the one who was, amongst the girls, save for chief and the new generation, Perez excels in education amongst them, speaks good English. She wanted to become a councillor in Migori, but of course you know how Wakiaga politics is. She did not succeed. There was my dad's favorite girl. Now that he had girls, he decided to create a man into one of the girls. Creating a man in one of the girls. So he created a man in one of his girls called Eskachai. He created a man into that girl. Gave her their establishments, property and business around. So she said, you are the boy in the home, so run my businesses. So Iska used to run the businesses until she got a man who married her and got for her a job at Central Bank. And in that Central Bank is where we got Jackie from. So those are things which we have to say and tell people so that they know. So then there's the late Elizabeth Juma. I've seen her husband somewhere here. Elena Keshme is the one who spoke here. the one whose birthday was celebrated on the 14th. Now, Ellen and I, we resemble. In fact, if she comes here, you'll see how beautiful she is. As beautiful she is, that is how handsome I am. So when you saw Ellen around, that is how we look alike. They call her mayor because she was named after the mayor. Then, of course, there's Rosa Nyango, we call her Wendo. There's Rispa, then Moses, Lev Torrance, Ellen, and all those sons which you see there. Now, our life is extended because she has brothers-in-law, those who are married, those whose brother she married. So Edro Kinda is an uncle of ours. That is where Uching comes from. That's where Rodi comes from. That is where Ellen comes from. So the Okindas are our cousins. Then the Rodos, they're just living here. Some of you have parked on the Rodos home. There were three boys and 4 girls in my father's home. I've spoken about our professional journey, how our brother through nepotism got right job. She used to operate a shop in Beta. The shop is still there on the old Beta tower. We had 2 shops and a portion mill. Very rich people with the village standards, but we were not allowed to live with them. So, of course, in that shop of ours, she had a tailoring. She had 3 charanis. One of them, he had employed Onyalojinga, Okuma, yes, and then herself as the lady. She had 2 men and herself, and they used to make very good dresses. Now, Beldina Wakiaga was one of the first officials of Maendeleo ya Wanawake in Rusinga, and she was part of the Kenyan delegates that participated during the UN Third World Conference on Women in Nairobi, 1985. This one also, because the closure, I have to disclose, because now we are disclosing. That year, Mzemoi, who is a friend of ours, appointed Ambassador Pamela Mbuya to be the Kenya's representative to the, is it Habitat? Yes. Now, Pamela became the chair of the local organization. For those who don't know, Pamela is, for my colleagues, Pamela is the mother of Lady Justice Maureen Odero. So Pamela was the one running the show. And again, through her bad Kenyan characters, she sneaked my mother to be a delegate. And she was there for 1 month as a delegate. When she came with books and pamphlets about women empowerment, which we have read, and that's why some of us love women. That's why some of us protect them from men who want to beat them. So, of course, having come from our home of professors, as I stayed up there, she loved education. The last function we attended was, and Willis will remember that, Madam Governor Wabe will remember that. The last function we attended in this place where we are was on the 9th of July. When we came for to do fundraiser for our local primary school here. And before you leave, Governor Ray and all the dignitaries who are here, please pass through the school and see what we are doing there. Governor reminds me that I carried the money myself, and I told the villagers that if they want their money, I can give them the one which Governor Wanga and Willis brought. Those were mine. Governor, just pass there and see what you are doing. We still need money. They have sent me a demand note of Ray. They have sent me a demand note of 4 million, which I believe is somewhere here. So I need 4 million to complete that housing project. That is the last function we did here on the 9th. Then of course we went to Nairobi. Ellen came on the 14th when our mothers had started feeling unwell. On the 22nd, which happened to be my birthday, the boy who stays with him here called Dennis calls me and tells me Mom is unwell. And I take my call and call her, and she tells me I have taken medicine, I am now okay, but I've told Dennis not to put off this, because you know down here, this issue of phone charger. So immediately you have spoken, you switch off your phone. So he had told Dennis, don't switch off your phone, because if anything happens, I'll call you. She never called. So I've given you the history about professors and education, and my wife mentioned that after we had moved from the home, she started adopting each and every relative child. Come. My sister Marian even brought for her one called Sama from Migori, a wild young girl. But my mother managed to put her straight. So that's what she used to do, adopt young wild girls, bring them and train them to be good children. So she used to give back to society. Now, everybody has said, my mother loved the Lord. I have never seen in my life a prayerful woman. Some of us were prayed into marriage, because if it was not a prayer, we would not be what we are. So she was a prayerful woman. She used to keep us constantly at our toes and asking us to seek the Lord. I've told you what happened on the 22nd, and Susan has told you about her journey. That is the brief history of how our mother lived in this world. It cannot be written in a space of 2 pages. So she was such a special lady to all of us. The cheeky ones like us, she's the one who put us on the straight line. Otherwise, we'll be here in the village saying, Onge, as you are celebrating here. For those who understand Lu, you know, some of us will be rogues here carrying rungus and threatening those who are celebrating a life. So, in celebration of the life of Mama Bedina, we will cherish those memories and we live with them. Before I leave this stage, and because I'm not going to be in this stage again, I want to show off for Rusinga and the Nyanza people. I want to show off about the value of education and the value of good friendship. It's not for me to do that, but I want to do it so that Rusinga people and the Nyanza people who are here would understand the value of going to school and the value of friendship and good education. I want to ask each and every judge who has attended this funeral to stand up. The judges who have attended this funeral to stand up. And I want to ask you, Rusinga people, how many judges have you seen in your life apart from me who does not look like a judge? Because when I walk in this village, nobody believes that I'm a judge. Now today I brought real judges, not the photocopy one, you know, including CJ Emeritus, CJ stand up, and including Justice Bosire retired. So Rusinga people, Nyanza people, please go to school. And you always believe that judges are men. You've seen that there are more women judges than men judges, isn't it? So educate your girl child, educate your boy child. We can have judges amongst you. And may God bless you. May you live in peace. May we cherish the values which our mother had instilled on us. Thank you.
Yes, Wakiaga.
Thank you so much, Justice Wakiaga, for taking us through a very touchy part. With the eloquence it deserves, we've learned a lot. Allow me at this time, as I prepare